Made in New Orleans is underwritten by Art Plus Design Magazine, New Orleans Auction Galleries, and New Orleans Living Magazine.
Hi folks, welcome to Made in New Orleans. Tonight we have with us sculptor David Bourjardine and Tracy Gilbert with Orange Gallery. But first, let's watch David work in his studio in the Irish Channel.
I work in bronze, silicon bronze sheet, hollow form construction, and I typically start my work with loose sketches, usually very quick sketches, and typically move very rapidly into the model stage with my work because a sketch will get the idea out, but you got to see it in 3 dimensions to really figure it out. I made the mistake and we got caught working directly from a sketch to the final piece, and it can be a nightmare if you haven't resolved the 3-dimensional issue. So I moved from sketch form to chipboard models constructed out of chipboard and super glue. And basically I make the entire piece as I want it, as I see it, out of cardboard first. And once I'm happy with that, that's kind of the aha moment where the piece it's been born, and at that point then I just have to translate that into bronze. I come across challenges in my work and the production of my work with the bronze on a number of levels. There's the forming aspect of it, which is difficult. There's the welding aspect of it, which has got its own level of difficulty. Finishing is another big one. The main challenge is having the forms combine into each other seamlessly without exposed welds. So on most of these pieces, all of the pieces pin into each other in such a way that it's all hidden. It's a challenge to make it come together the way you want it, no matter what, and it's a challenge of having it stand up, cantilever, or balance itself on a structure, internal structure that we put in, whether it's stainless steel rod or whatnot. But that's the fun part. That's the joy, one aspect of the joy of making sculpture that I have. Bronze, even though it's very expensive, it's a joy to work with. It's like butter, and you can to weld it, to grind it. Compared to all the other metals, it's so much easier and so much more forgiving, which allows me to then form it and make it do things I wanted to do. I couldn't get the shapes to do what they're doing out of steel. It just won't work. And bronze is not really affected terribly by heat, so it doesn't want to warp as bad as, let's say, stainless, which is awful. I'm not studying bones or anatomy. I'm not looking at those shapes and then trying to even abstract from those. But I think subconsciously those forms are in my head, and they're coming out in the work, because a lot of the work has bone-like qualities, you could say. I think the similarities between my forms and bones is that I'm looking for the ideal perfect shape. And I think just by nature of design, bones have the ideal shape for what they do. And so I'm striving to do that, to make shapes that are perfect in my mind. And that can be a connection there. it can be mysterious, it can be awe-inspiring, where you're trying to figure out why this thing is standing up. I've always been interested in proportion, you know, combining large shapes and small shapes and different size shapes, and then trying to have that challenge of composing a piece using dissimilar shapes and a wide range of dissimilar shapes, you know, the really big to the really skinny. And there's a challenge in doing that because it's not easy to compose a piece and have balance using those shapes. And maybe it's the challenge that invigorates me to do that.
We're back, and we have with us sculptor David Borgerding. David, glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You're from Michigan, so tell me a little bit about how you grew up.
I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. High school, you know, undergraduate college, the whole thing there. 3 sisters, and normal upbringing, I guess. I spent a lot of time with my father, working in the shop with him, learning a lot from him, keeping away from my 3 sisters.
Right. So did you know then that you were going to take a course in art, or did you just kind of pick up the trade techniques then?
I think what I did was, I think everything kind of evolved as it went along. I learned a lot from my father, just making things, and had an interest in making things, whatever it might be.
Right.
You know, rubber band guns, you know, fixing cars or whatever. But I had a definite interest in the creative process and using my hands. So that kind of developed and went into high school art.
Right.
And where it kind of took off.
Right. So when you're working with metal, is that kind of a pulling back from your childhood of working in those shops and things? Is that how you discovered metal to sculpt?
Yeah, yeah. My first paying job was in a fabrication shop, and I mean I was just 14 maybe, and I started welding then, and kind of got that bug then, and really never looked back.
What was your total education in art? Did you go to school to be an artist, or is that what you set out to do?
I went to Kendall College of Art and Design for painting. I think in high school, my guidance counselor told me to be a pharmacist, but I don't know if sculpture was sculptor was an option on that test. But it was really the only thing that interested me. You know, I had high school art, painting. Started out painting in undergraduate at Kendall College of Art and Design in Grand Rapids, and my second year there, kind of moved over to sculpture.
Okay. Well, let's bring it forward a little bit. And how did you arrive in New Orleans?
I arrived in New Orleans via my wife, Go-Go.
It's usually a girl.
Yeah, who I met in graduate school in Savannah, Georgia, at Savannah College of Art and Design. I met her, and she's from here originally. She's from Harahan, so I was finished up and had a studio in Savannah, but Savannah's a small town and really needed something a little more. So when she invited me to check out New Orleans, she was homesick, so we paid a visit, and that was it.
Now she makes fantastic jewelry, right?
She does these wonderful cuff bracelets, sterling and anodized aluminum cuff bracelets, and she has a lot of fun with that.
We'll have to get her on the show sometime.
Definitely, definitely. I'm sure she'd love to be here.
Was it easy for you to get acclimated to the art scene here?
I think it was. I mean, New Orleans is very open. I mean, I got that feeling immediately, and you know, the first studio I had was, you know, on Valence and Camp, and this old bakery, and I had just got the studio. I was making some things. I don't know what I was making, but you know, I think it was Art Silverman came by and stopped, and that's when I first met him, and
right.
and we started having coffee and whatnot. So very, very easy going and very smooth. It was an easy transition, and not so easy. I mean, it's always tough to get into galleries and,
right.
and to kind of get yourself rolling, but in general, the community, it's a very supportive community, and that's one thing I like about the city.
Cool. Well, let's talk specifically about your work. You do these fantastic bronze sculptures, but not cast bronze, welded bronze.
Right.
How do you start?
The sculptures typically start, I have a sketchbook which I use, and I do a lot of loose sketching, and from loose sketches, I come down to some final thoughts, and then from that stage go into cardboard models.
Right.
So all my work starts life as a cardboard model, maquette, scale, to scale, and from then, from there I work on the composition when I get everything fine-tuned, and then basically take that cardboard model and transform that into bronze.
Right.
Use the planes of the model of the cardboard as templates to cut out the bronze and forge and fabricate and bend the bronze into the final piece.
Right. Let's talk about your inspiration. Do your concepts come from nature, or is it just totally abstract?
Nothing concrete. I'm not looking at particular things and drawing inspiration from that. I think it's a filtering process that goes on in my head, of images of forms and shapes and things I see in nature, and my previous piece, I might find inspiration in a component of that where I want to expand on that and into the next piece, so I get excited about that.
So your older work informs your new work?
I think it builds on itself. Similar shapes kind of evolve, and then filter out,
right.
after I'm done with them, different shapes find themselves in similar work.
The first show I ever saw of your work, I kept being reminded of like science fiction dinosaur bones. It was like it had a feel. It's very natural, but really spectacular.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the pieces. A lot of the work has bone-like qualities or tree branch qualities. I think by virtue of being organic,
it just happens.
Things just kind of go that way,
right.
and I think we talked before too. I think about how bones being the ideal structure
right.
for the human body, or for
they're perfect for what they were made for.
Perfect for what they're, and that's essentially in an abstract way what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Is make the perfect ideal pared down form.
That type of work takes a lot of physical effort. Is that really part of the fun of it?
It really is, and that's where creativity and trying new things really comes into play. It can get mundane if you're being too safe, if you're playing it safe. So I'm always trying to put a shape together in a particular way, or stretch it somehow, and that goes into proportions and scale and cantilevers. But so I try to challenge myself in the fabrication process.
Okay, you just recently had a show at Callan Contemporary. How did that work for you?
We had a great show. Sold out. I think there's one piece still on hold, but it's sold out, and
That's always
there's
good.
not much you can say about that. I mean, I'm very excited.
Tell us about your studio. I mean, you've got a great place over in the Irish Channel. I walked in, it was the Airstream trailer at the top of it. I mean, give people a little description of what you got going on there.
I had a small studio and was looking for something bigger, and it was easier. It was cheaper, much cheaper to buy and build than it was to rent something of the size I needed. So that's I was able to stop and think and build my dream shop, basically. Right. And I'm very fortunate for that.
It's got all the right toys.
All the right toys. The Airstream, that's my office, and that's kind of where the computer is and where Command Central is.
Right.
That was the working trailer for when we were building the shed. So everything just kind of worked out you know, we bought that off a movie set, somewhat in Harahan and whatnot. But it's a great space. It's got everything I need. I'm still adding on, and I'm still finding that I need more space. So
right. Well, you always do.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned movies. Do you do any work for movies, or is that?
I've done some props for a number of movies. I have friends in the prop department or property masters for different outfits. So I've been able to have fun with that, and that's what it is. It's just, you know, fun, make believe,
right.
film, you know, make a sword, you
right.
know, make it look like this. I mean, it's just fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a little getaway for me.
Gotcha.
Now and again.
Now, we know that you show at Callan Contemporary. Is that the best way for people to see what you do? Check out their website, or do you have something else?
I would check out Callan Contemporary. I have a website as well, bourgeoningsculpture.net, mm-hmm. Where you'll see probably the same work or similar work. On my website, there's much older work for reference. But either way, it will get someone to me. I reference Callan on my website, so either one of those.
Okay. Well, David, thank you so much for taking time to be with us tonight, and I appreciate you coming into the studio and telling everybody about what you do, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
You're welcome. We're going to take a break, and we'll return in a moment with more Made in New Orleans.
You're watching WLAE, New Orleans Public Television. Find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
And we're back, and we're with Tracy Gilbert of Gallery Orange. Tracy, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you very much for the invite.
There's a mantra behind your gallery name. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
That's a long story. I'm originally half British and half Dutch, and I wanted to bring something different to Royal Street that wasn't directly French to start with. Right. And somehow, actually, my boyfriend went to the car to pick up some windscreen wiper, and the lady said, and was because we were racking our brains for a name, and I didn't especially want to call it after myself or some she French name. Right. I really wanted to be something simple and fun and unique and quirky, which is what is all behind, you know, the Dutch humor, and of course, I don't know if you know, but the football team, the Dutch, and the William of Orange, and that's the whole connection between France, the UK, and Holland. So it just seemed perfect. So my boyfriend was at the car wash picking up some windscreen wipers, and the lady behind the desk said, "Hey, you need to get this stuff, it's orange." And so that's how it was born. So it was a combination of the Dutch, the British, the French, the William of Orange, the simplicity of the name, actually, right. And to be quite honest, it's a very easy color to market. Right. You give them an orange cocktail, and they remember you forever.
And it is a happy color, so to speak.
It is. It's a very energetic color. It's a healing color. It's
right.
It's done us proud.
And you have elements of the gallery that are painted orange, and it helps bring people off the street, your own Royal Street.
Yeah. There's not a Dutch person that walked past the gallery that doesn't come in, or anybody who's wearing orange comes in. Right. It's just been a very unique marketing strategy, I guess, and It's just fun, and people remember it. So,
cool. Well, tell us a little bit about how you got started in the gallery business.
Actually, when I look back, I've been selling art since I was 11 years old.
Okay.
When I was at school, I was always artistic, and I made some sketches at when I was 10 or 11 around Duran, and I took them to school. And everybody wanted one, and so I thought, well, I'll just go and make a photocopy. And so I went to the school secretary and took some photocopies. Maybe they cost a penny, and I sold them for 2 pence. So I didn't realize it till later. Actually, later I went to art college, and even at school, when I was at art college, people would just want to buy my art. Right. And actually, I was like a struggling artist because I just didn't have that drive to get up every morning and do it. Right. So it's years later, I was always trying to find what am I supposed to do. I did project management in Holland for telecommunications. I had a stint in catering when I first came to New Orleans. But I was always looking for that passion of what is it that I'm supposed to be or do. And then I got a chance to work in a gallery on Royal Street, and I just, through being in there, within days I knew this was what I was meant to do.
Right.
This kind of envelops
It
everything,
meshed.
who I am, and I would like to go and do this by myself.
Cool.
So that's
Cool.
kind of how I got into it. So I went from being the artist to being on the other side. I don't think I was meant to be an artist, but I was meant to have gone through 8 years of art college to
Get an appreciation for it.
just
Yeah.
to know what it takes to be a real artist.
Well, what brought you from the UK to New Orleans?
There was a man involved, of course.
Okay.
I was with Shell Oil, and we got the opportunity to come to New Orleans, and I loved New Orleans, and it was something that would envelop both of our passions, me for food, art, and culture,
Right.
and New Orleans is so European. I never felt as if I left Europe, so it's
Right.
been it's been fabulous to experience, New Orleans after the storm. We were one of the first people to close on a house after the storm. So it was just a very interesting time. And people always talk about the New Orleans before the storm, and I said, well, I don't know any better. I think
Right.
it's fabulous. It was great.
So how long has Gallery Orange been on Royal Street?
Just over 2 years. We did like a little experimental pop-up for a couple of months. And then it was summer, and I said, you'd be crazy to open a gallery in the middle of summer. And somebody, I'm not going to mention any names, but he said, you'd be crazy not to jump on that space right now. You need to go and open your gallery right now.
Right.
And so I did, and
Well,
never looked back.
You certainly have a really fine stable of artists. They're very popular. It's a very unique look that you purvey, and we've been very lucky because we had one of your artists on the show just recently, Aaron Reichert.
Yes, he's fabulous. We're very lucky to have him in the city. He's
Yes,
one
it
of
was
the
an
city's
interesting-
finest, I think. Yeah, he's a great
tell
guy.
us a little bit about your other artist.
Well, I have a mixture. How it all started was actually a Dutch friend of mine, Goose Kemp, who I knew through Shell Oil and through The Hague. We kind of reconnected through Facebook. And he says, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm selling fine art on Royal Street. And he says, well, would you like to represent me? I said, well, we sell Rembrandts. We're not going to sell your paintings. And it just kind of spiraled. I was trying to help him. And I said to him, they're all so funny. You should open your own gallery. And he says, well, you're the one who wanted a gallery. So, and then I got together with Goose Kemp and Sarah Ashley Longshore. She's a local artist.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I needed a few more artists. And I certainly did not want to poach anybody else's artists within Louisiana or try and steal other galleries. So I just thought that would be really bad karma. So I went outside the box and went to Canyon Road in Santa Fe. And that's how I started collecting my artists. I begged them to let me represent them. I said, you don't know me from Adam, but please trust me. I know how to sell art. I would love to represent you. I think your work would fit in. So that's kind of how it spiraled, just because I just did not want to have the local steal them from other galleries. So I went to Santa Fe, and slowly I've just been getting connections, and then local people have been coming to me. But that's kind of how it started. I really started with nothing, not even a business plan.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
One of the artists that you represent, Gigi Mills.
Gigi Mills, fabulous.
She was one of the artists that came from Santa Fe.
Yeah, she was one of the artists that came from Santa Fe because one of her, from another gallery from Vail, they were together, and Gigi Mills had always had a deep love for the South. Because of the tradition. Gigi Mills was a circus child and always loved tradition, the South, French architecture, and you can see that in her work.
She
reminds
me of Milton Avery a little.
She does.
Yeah.
She's been a tremendous artist in the gallery from the second we had her. Because when I first saw her work, I said, well, we'll just give it a try. And she says, but I do sell. And we put 3 pieces of work on the wall. And from then, she just attracted a whole different crowd. And she's fabulous. Very lucky to have her.
You were telling me a story earlier about the painting that you nicknamed the Troublemaker.
Oh, yeah. We just had a 2-man show. In fact, we're right in the middle of a 2-man show for Gigi Mills and Carlos Lopez. He's also a local artist. They both paint a lot of gray. But when Gigi paints a little bit of red in her work, then they come. It's a crazy thing. So we called this little French piece, which was inspired by our recent trip to Paris and to France. We called her the troublemaker because I said, if you put her in the gallery, nobody's going to want anything else. She's a troublemaker.
So once it sells,
so it sold within a few minutes, and I said, let's hide her in the box in the back, put her away. She's a troublemaker.
Right.
So that was quite funny, but yeah.
Now, you recently picked up another artist that used to be on Magazine Street, Jason Horton.
Jason Horton.
Yeah.
He's also local. We are getting more and more local artists. He's a fabulous painter too. He hand builds his panels, and then makes diverse, but lots to do with nature and animals and birds.
Well, the work that you carry in the gallery, Gigi's paintings typically are small, and your other artists have very large paintings, but it seems to all have a cohesive effect. And
it does. When I look at who's, we've had some come and some go. They all do seem to have a big, very graphic statement, almost simple. A lot of my artists are self-taught, which is quite funny coming from someone.
So I understand it.
Yeah, I did 10 years of
that.
art college, but I think it's actually an advantage when they're not, pushed into an academy of you can't do this, you can't do that.
I always say I didn't have to unlearn.
Exactly. So they have this total looseness and naivety, which I really seem to like.
I've been accused
Sorry?
of having that. I said naivety. I've been accused of having that.
Yeah.
Well, your gallery is set up a little different from maybe what people would think of as a traditional gallery, because a lot of galleries do month-long shows where it's just one artist up, and then the next time they come in it's a different artist up. You tend to have your artist up pretty much all the time with some emphasis on is that just because of the nature of the French Quarter traffic?
I think so, yeah, that's the way we do it. Plus I'm just a new business, so I'm basically throwing up everything on the wall and seeing what sticks. Well, and then the artists that do sell, I can't take them off the wall. Because
well, I think the artists like being up 12 months out of the year rather than one.
my 3 walls. And I don't have much storage in the back either, so it's just I have my hats off to these galleries that do shows every month, because you're just reinventing the wheel all the time.
Well, it sounds like things are revolving through your door pretty quick.
Yeah, we have lots of collectors and repeat offenders. We call them repeat offenders.
Right.
They're fabulous. We look after them. They look after us. We become like a family. We call them the Go family, or the GO addicts. We call them the addicts. And it's really nice because we have a lot of young collectors, people just starting out, and so we try to help them with as much as we can with layaways or discounts, or how can we make it work.
But you have a wide range of price points too, that people can come in. For example, Gigi Mills' paintings are in the 1900 range. From there and then up. So it's affordable and collectible and investment quality fine art.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and we have fun doing it.
doing it.
And it's just been a fabulous experience.
Well, that's the main
on
thing.
Royal Street, because you just never know who's going to walk through the door.
Tell us how they can find you on Royal Street. What's your address?
819 Royal Street. We're 1 block up behind Jackson Square towards Esplanade, and we always have a little round orange patio table and chairs set outside.
Okay. And your website?
www.gallery-orange.com.
Okay, and then you have a big Facebook presence, right?
We do have a big Facebook presence. We make a joke with, we're selling fine art off the Facebook walls, but that's the way people get up in the morning. They have their morning coffee. They're just relaxed. They're reading Facebook. We're posting, and they're buying off Facebook, which is
that's
amazing.
Pretty awesome.
But
that's awesome.
Gotta love Facebook.
Tracy, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for inviting.
We enjoyed it. We hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be right back with more Made in New Orleans.
Hi, we're Ola High, and you're watching WLAE-TV.
That's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Join us next time on Made in New Orleans.
Made in New Orleans is underwritten by Art Plus Design Magazine, New Orleans Auction Galleries, and New Orleans Living Magazine.